Imagine discovering a door in your basement that leads to an entire city buried beneath your feet. Not just a few rooms, but 18 stories deep into the earth, carved entirely from solid rock, complete with schools, churches, wine cellarys, and enough space to hide 20,000 people from the world above. This isn't science fiction. This is Derinkuyu, and it's been hiding under the Turkish countryside for thousands of years. In 1963, a man in the Cappadocia region of Turkey was renovating his home when he knocked down a wall and found something impossible. Behind that wall was a tunnel. That tunnel led to a room. That room led to another passage. And that passage opened into one of the most mysterious archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, a massive underground city that plunges over 200 feet into volcanic rock, spread across multiple levels connected by narrow passages and hidden doorways. But here's what makes Derinkuyu truly mind-bending. This wasn't some hastily dug refuge or a simple cave system. This was engineered. Whoever built this understood ventilation, water distribution, and defensive architecture at a level that seems almost impossible for the ancient world. There are 52 ventilation shafts, some reaching all the way down to the deepest levels, ensuring that even people living 18 stories underground could breathe fresh air. Freshwater wells were strategically placed throughout the city, tapping into underground rivers that still flow today. The precision is staggering. Each level could be sealed off independently, using massive circular stone doors that weighed up to half a ton each. These weren't doors you could knock down with a battering ram. They rolled into place from the inside, and once closed, they were nearly impossible to breach from the outside. Defensive tunnels were deliberately made narrow, forcing any invaders to crawl single file, making them easy targets for defenders. This wasn't just a hiding place. This was a fortress designed by people who knew exactly what they were doing. So who built Derinkuyu? That's where things get really interesting, because nobody knows for certain. The most popular theory among archaeologists is that it was constructed by the Phrygians, an Indo-European people who dominated the region around the 8th century BC. The Phrygians were known for their rock-cut architecture, and the style of some chambers matches their known work. But here's the problem with that theory. Some researchers believe portions of Derinkuyu could be much, much older, possibly dating back to the Hittites around 1500 BCE or even earlier. There's even more controversial speculation. Some fringe theorists point to references in ancient texts and suggest the city could be connected to the mysterious peoples mentioned in Anatolian legends, though mainstream archaeology doesn't support these claims. What we do know is that later inhabitants, particularly early Christians fleeing Roman persecution in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, definitely used and expanded these underground networks. Byzantine Christians left their mark with carved churches and religious symbols throughout the complex. But using something and building something are very different things. The Christians found Derinkuyu already there, already functional, already ancient. They modified it, lived in it, worshipped in it. But the original architects remain a mystery. And that leads us to the even bigger question. Why would anyone build something like this? The official explanation is defense. The Cappadocia region has been invaded countless times throughout history by Persians, Arabs, Mongols, and various other armies sweeping across Anatolia. Having an entire city underground meant that when danger approached, the entire population could simply disappear into the earth, sealing themselves in until the threat passed. With enough food storage, underground farms, and that ingenious ventilation system, they could survive for months without ever seeing the sun. But some researchers think there's more to the story. The amount of effort required to carve out millions of tons of rock by hand is almost incomprehensible. We're talking about generations of workers spending their entire lives digging deeper and deeper into the earth. Would the threat of occasional raids really justify that level of commitment? Some alternative theories suggest the city might have been built in response to a specific catastrophic threat, perhaps extended periods of warfare or environmental disaster that we've lost to history. There's also the climate theory. Ancient Anatolia experienced dramatic temperature swings, and the underground maintained a constant temperature year-round, around 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This would have been ideal for storing food, fermenting wine, and escaping both the scorching summers and freezing winters of the region. Perhaps Derinkuyu started as a storage and refuge system that evolved over centuries into a full underground metropolis. What makes this even more fascinating is that Derinkuyu isn't alone. Archaeologists have discovered over 200 underground cities in the Cappadocia region, many of them connected by tunnels stretching for miles. Derinkuyu connects to the nearby city of Kamakli through a tunnel system that runs nearly 5 miles underground. Imagine an entire civilization living beneath the surface, traveling between cities through secret passages, while the world above went about its business completely unaware. The scale of the tunnel network suggests something even more incredible, a coordinated effort spanning multiple generations and possibly multiple cultures, all working toward creating the subterranean world. This wasn't the work of one leader or one community. This was a regional project that required cooperation, planning, and shared knowledge of engineering that we're still trying to fully understand today. Walking through Derinkuyu today is an eerie experience. The narrow passages force you to crouch and squeeze through openings barely wide enough for one person. Then suddenly you emerge into vast chambers with vaulted ceilings, carved pillars, and intricate room layouts. There are communal spaces, private quarters, chapels with carved crosses, wine presses, oil presses, storage rooms with massive clay jars still sitting where they were left centuries ago. There's even evidence of schools and meeting halls, suggesting this wasn't just survival living but actual community life happening hundreds of feet underground. One of the most haunting features is the communication system. Vertical shafts connect different levels, and researchers believe these were used to send messages up and down through the city. Imagine voices echoing through stone tubes, carrying warnings, news, or simple conversations between families living on different floors of this vertical city. But perhaps the most unsettling question about Derinkuyu is this: what were they so afraid of? What threat was so persistent, so terrifying, that entire communities chose to live in darkness rather than face it above ground? We may never know the full answer. The people who built the deepest levels left no written records, no explanations carved into the walls, no clear indication of their identity or motivations. What we're left with is a monument to human ingenuity, determination, and mystery. Derinkuyu stands as proof that our ancestors were capable of engineering marvels that still challenge our understanding today. It reminds us that there are still secrets buried beneath our feet, still questions that archaeology hasn't answered, still chapters of human history waiting to be discovered. And somewhere in the darkness of those ancient tunnels, the ghosts of Derinkuyu keep their secrets, waiting for someone to finally understand why they chose to build their world beneath the world.